thank you very much for being on PUREchannel. You're here in the stairs of a very big venue in Paris, La Cigale. I think the Amos Lee crew is doing the sound check now. Are you really proud of playing with Amos Lee, touring, and being in Paris in such a big venue like La Cigale?
Absolutely. This is an absolute thrill. It's our first time as a band for Punch Brothers to be in Paris. It's actually the first time Punch Brothers has ever played on the mainland in continental Europe here, and so it's an absolute thrill. And we're getting to start in some fairly big rooms, thanks to the generosity of Amos Lee bringing us on board.
Yeah, and I mean, this room apparently has lots of history, and it's gorgeous. And I love that the stage is actually at the same level as the seats, which is pretty amazing. It's going to make it a very communal show. And then right before we started the performance, three of us went down to, there was just a little a bakery, boulangerie. How do we say it?
Boulangerie?
Yeah, boulangerie. And we got a baguette, and we went across the street to a charcuterie and got some foie gras, rabbit and prune pate, and oh my god,
yeah,
so good.
Yeah, you did a perfect French meal. The record is named Who's Feeling Young Now? I guess you guys do. Can we start with defining bluegrass music? Because I know the youngest listeners might don't know that kind of music. How would you describe it in just a few words?
Well, bluegrass music, it means a very different thing to different people. It has many definitions. In the States, bluegrass became used as a genre term for a style of acoustic music being played on kind of the banjo, fiddle, mandolin, on these folk and country instruments, but with this new intensity, as pioneered by guys like Bill Monroe. And the name of his band was actually there was Bill Monroe and the Bluegrass Boys, before anybody was actually calling a style of music bluegrass. And then it became known as bluegrass. Fast forward 60 years, bluegrass can be applied to describe people who are still playing that style of music. Some people may just see the bluegrass instruments and associate it with it being bluegrass, despite the fact that the content might have nothing to do with what the forefathers like Bill Monroe and Earl Scruggs were actually doing. So it's an interesting situation to see how people like to label us, or will struggle to try to put us into some kind of box as a bluegrass band, because visually we appear as a bluegrass band when you see these instruments, but when people hear us, they sometimes won't associate it with the classic.
I was wondering, preparing that interview, did you figure out what can we do that sounds new, and we're going to try to do that kind of music you're actually doing now, but that's totally new. We should say it because it's rare.
Oh, thank you. That's the dream of any serious musician, I think, is to be a part of something that's at least a little bit new. And so I think that what we had tried as a band, we've been together now for 5 years, almost 6 years, and I think we tried early on. We tried too hard to be new. To the extent that we were throwing the baby out with the bathwater. We have that saying, and it was like our music, I think, was needlessly abrasive at that point. It was like too confrontational. We were just really we were trying to reinvent the wheel, and the wheel was rolling just fine. So I think now we're adhering a little bit more to certain types of song structure, or just certain principles of music making. We want what we're doing to be impactful, to really have so that you can feel it, you can feel it in your chest. You can feel it in your gut and not just your head. But at the same time, we like the idea. I mean, you're hearing the drums sound check behind us. They're so, drums are awesome, right? But they're so rigid. It's it's got to be just this thing. We're kind of trying to get that same intensity with a little bit with an ensemble that's a little lighter on its feet, like something that can, like, where you can drop, or you can just stop on a dime, and
or where the roles of percussion can be floating, that you don't always rely on the drummer per se, that like that role can be played by various different musicians in the group.
Yeah, because there is a lot of groove. I'm thinking New York, Who's Feeling Young Now, the song too. There's a groove with mute chords on the guitars, banjo, mandolin. The bass, double bass, of course, is helping a lot. And sometimes the guitar is doubling the bass, the double bass line. So there is huge groove and huge rhythm in that record, but it's not the traditional. And I wrote the question: could you bear to have a drum in that band? Or is it impossible? You don't need it. You just invented something new without drums.
Well, I think it would be really hard to have the. I feel like one of the things that we're trying to do is have very high contrast, and in these arrangements, and I think it's very difficult to have a groove sustained through a song with a drum set and still have high contrast. And so that's something that we can do, is like we can have the rhythmic information come from like the mandolin for part of the song, and then come from the banjo for part of the song, and or from the fiddle for part of the song, so that you have like a sustained groove but a massive contrast. And like when there's drums, it's just like there's drums, there's still drums.
Sonically, the bluegrass instruments, they're not matched as perfectly as a string quartet. There are limitations to how everything fits together tonally, but if you throw a drum kit into the mix, as far as how much sonic space everything is taking up, things can get crowded really quickly. And one of the things we've noticed is, even within our ensemble without a percussionist, that we're having to be careful to not overcrowd our arrangements, just out of keeping ourselves engaged. And I think that's one of the things as we mature as a band, to not write music that necessarily will keep us interested as instrumentalists and technicians as we grew up playing these instruments, but to really keep the song there first and foremost.
I'd like to say a last thing about that record. Is like, it's a record that should be listened many times, because there are surprises coming more and more, new parts you don't hear, and even the melodies, they are part of the music, but they are also a bit independent. I don't know how to say it. So after listening a few times the songs, the melody gets in mind, and you chill out more the melody that the first times where you're like, where is the melody? Where is the, you know what I mean?
Oh, that's good.
So I don't know if you agree with that melody.
I definitely, we're always trying to, like in the context of melody, there's so many melodies have been written at this point, and I feel like increasingly you need just like a little, you need something, you need certain things that are expected and certain things that are unexpected. And you need, like, I love the feeling in music when I hear something that makes me go, of course. But like, I need that first moment. I need that, and then I want to be like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. But the first thing I want to be is like, what? Oh, right. And so we write our music with that in mind, and especially, I think with the topics on the, like, as far as lyrically speaking, the topics are urgent, and the characters in these songs are going through things like around, they're thinking themselves in circles all the time. They're kind of they're overthinking everything almost, and like the observations about things are getting like twisted and convoluted, which is a lot of the times I think what happens from like that space between feeling young and starting to feel more mature. Is like there's a spinning going around in your mind, and these songs are kind of about that. So repetition, like listening to it over and over again, is definitely going to yield greater understanding of the music.
That's a great conclusion. You should listen again and again. Who's Feeling Young Now? You can buy it legally on every platform, of course. That was the Punch Brother, and I'm really happy to have a chat with you. And there's also the acoustic sessions you were kind enough to play for PUREchannel.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you very much, guys.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks.